Hello, fellow game makers! So, episode 3, and today it's all gonna be about writing text with typewriter effect. So you can have your acts, your jacks, and your flavor text. Okay, so before we actually start writing anything, we need a bit of setup. And that starts by making our font asset. Just come in here, create new font, and I'm gonna be using this fmain, which is made using the determination font, which I'm gonna leave the download description for both determination and monster friend in the description. When you download determination, you're gonna make sure you extract and install both files, determination sans and determination mono. Mono is what is used for dialogue since it's more spaced, and sans is more packed together, so you're gonna want to use that for menus and stuff. Right, you can just come in here, make sure you install the font, otherwise it won't appear here. Pick a nice size and turn anti-aliasing off, or else the font is gonna be blurry. Right, so after that, let's come into the bullet board and add a new variable in the create event. Let's call it text equals a string. Now let's see, axis model 014 ready to attack. No particular reason for that one, right? So we're gonna now add a new event, the draw event. And before we actually draw any text, we need to call draw self. And we need to do that because whenever we add a draw event, we're telling GameMaker that we'll be the ones taking care of drawing that instance. So if we don't call this or any variation of draw sprite or whatever, the instance won't appear on screen. Right? Let's set our font for text drawing. Draw set font. And then you just pass the name of the font, fmain. Next, we're going to be setting our h-align and v-align with draw set v-align, draw set h-align. And the way these two functions work is that you're basically setting the origin point of your text. It can be with v-align being top, middle, or bottom, and h-align being left, center, or right. And we're gonna be using top left for our text since we wanted to start drawing from the top left of the bullet board. So come in v-align, fa top, come in h-align, fa left. Now you're gonna want to copy paste these again down here and just write -1 inside the brackets, because whenever you alter text drawing variables, they'll remain that value until you reset them in anywhere in your code. And you can reset them to their defaults by simply putting -1. So it's pretty simple. Right? So now, how do we actually draw text? It's pretty simple. We can just call draw text, and you pass in an x coordinate, a y coordinate, and the string you want to draw. So our x coordinate would be our b box left plus border b box top plus border. We talked about b boxes in the last episode. And our text, right? So now if we run the game, here the text is being drawn, although it's not perfectly aligned and it's overshooting the bullet board. So let's fix these issues, right? Let's start with the most pressing one, which is the actual overshoot. And to fix that, it's very simple. We just use draw text ext, which works much the same way as the normal draw text, except you pass in a line separation and a maximum width. So for the line separation, you can use another function called string height, and that will return the height of the text string in the currently set font. So we can just pass a few letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now another comma, and we put our maximum width, which would be our sprite width minus border times 2 because there's borders on either side of the bullet board. And just with that, if we run again, and there we go. Now to fix this alignment issue, because it's way to the right, it's way to the left, sorry, we can create a local variable. Let's see, var offset equals border plus 10, let's say. If you don't know what a local variable is, it's just a variable that exists within whatever event or function you call it in. We're creating this offset in the draw event since we're gonna be using it only here. So now we can put offset bbox stop plus offset. So let's run the game again, and look at that, looks much better. Okay, so now we're gonna be making basic typewriter text, and to do that we're gonna be adding a few new variables. First variable, letter equals 0. We're gonna be using this to increase the number of letters from this text to show on screen, and our text speed, let's put it to say 0.5, and this is how fast the text is going to show up on screen. Okay, so now let's come to the step event, and first we're gonna be needing to increase our letter. Hold on, my cat decided to appear. Okay, so first, if letter is less than the string length of our text, and string length returns the amount of characters in a string, not its width or height, we can just say that letter plus equals our text speed, and that's all we're gonna need for now. So let's come back in the draw event, and we'll add a new local variable. It's gonna be var txt equals string copy, and string copy just copies a string, so we can pass our string, our text, starting at an index. We're gonna put 0 to start from the very beginning, and then amount of characters to copy, it's gonna be our letter. And now we just put that instead of our normal text, txt. Okay, so what's going to happen here is that at each frame, letter is going to increase by our text speed until it is the length of our text, and it's only going to be showing a new character once it reaches a whole number, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's run the game. Look at that, it's already working. Now, that's essentially the basic text typewriter effect, but there's a couple problems with it. As you saw, it keeps the constant speed regardless of, say, commas or exclamation marks or anything like that. So how do we solve that? Well, we're gonna come back here. If letter is less than our text, we're gonna add a couple new variables, local variables, since we're gonna be only using them in here. First is going to be our var car, which is equal to string car at. We're gonna be passing our text, and the index to check for the character is gonna be letter. The way string car at works is that you're essentially checking a string at a given index to see what character is in there, and we're gonna be using that to check if we've reached an exclamation mark, a dot, a comma, etc. Next, var txt spd equals our text speed, we're setting this up so we can control this instead of our normal text speed variable, which we set up in the create event. So we don't have to keep resetting it every time we slow it down. Right? So down here, we can do this. If car double equals dot as a string, of course, or car double equals comma, or car double equals exclamation mark, we can say that our txt spd divided equals 6. So it's going to divide its value by 6. And then we simply increase that in letter by that instead of using our normal text speed. Letter plus equals txt spd. And there's going to be a problem with that, but first let's see if it works. And it works. So about that problem, it's gonna be with this next step, which is actually playing sound. Now the logic for playing sound is that we essentially want a sound to play whenever a new character shows up. And just like I said before, a new character is only going to show up once letter reaches a whole number, 1, 2, 3. So to check for that, it's pretty simple. If letter double equals round letter, and this is going to be checking if letter equals a rounded version of itself, i.e. if we reached a new number, we can say audio play sound, and we pass a sound. This is SND text. I got it from the sounds resource for all of Undertale sound effects. Just download it, import, and extract the zip file, and it's going to be SND text 1 or SND text 2. I can't remember which. Set a priority of 1, that's not terribly important, and whether or not to loop, we're gonna put it into false. And this is where the problem is going to show up. So let's see. And there it is. As you saw, in the beginning it was playing correctly, and that's because our text speed is 0.5, so every 2 frames it's gonna equal 1. So 1.5, 2, 2.5, so it's gonna keep an even number at every 2 frames. But since we're using txt-spd to increase, it's no longer that number, so it's almost never rounding up or down. So how do we solve that? It's pretty simple. Here, instead of using round, we're gonna be using sail. And the way sail works is just like round, except it only rounds up. So this is gonna be checking if letter is equal to itself rounded up. So if letter is 2.1, it's gonna be checking if it's 3. If it's 2.9, it's also gonna be checking if it's 3. And down here, after we update letter, we add another check. If letter plus txt spd is greater than sail letter, we can just put letter equals sail letter, and then it's gonna round our letter variable up, so to prevent this from happening. So we can just test that out, and now it's typing and sounding properly, right? So that's basically the gist of it. The only other thing you would likely want to do is to make sure this only happens when you want to draw text. You don't want it drawing at every moment. So we can add another variable in here. We'll call it right equals false. So we can come down here and wrap this inside another if check. If right double equals true, get rid of this curly bracket and put another one. Oops, that's the wrong event. and put another one here. And now all of this is only going to run if we set right to true. And now we can do the same here. Make sure you don't call draw self to only happen if right is true. If right double equals true, erase this curly, come down here, and add another one. And there we go. We already set it to false in the create event, so we can just run the code. And nothing's showing up. Oh, right, just remembered another thing. You actually need to update your text. And we can do that with another function. Again, check out episode 1 for a quick explanation of functions in instances. So we can add another function. We're gonna call it update text equals function. Brackets, and inside the brackets, we're actually gonna be putting an argument. We'll call it string. So now whenever we call this function, we can pass in what text we want to put in. Curly brackets, we're gonna write self dot text equals $, quotation marks. The $ is initiating the string as a string template. I'm gonna explain that real quick. We're gonna put this symbol, space, and curly brackets and write our string, the same as we wrote here inside the function. And a string template is essentially a way of passing variables inside a string, and they will be automatically converted. Before we had this, we had to call the function string, and we'd pass whatever value we wanted to stringify. Could be a number, could be a ball, a boolean, anything. But now with string templating, it's much simpler. And we're calling the self operator because we want to be able to call this function from anywhere in the code, and it updates the text of the bullet board. It doesn't try to set a new variable inside the function, inside the instance calling the function. And self dot letter equal 0. It's gonna reset letter to 0 so it can start running again. And just to make sure, self dot right equals true. Again, you can take this out if you want to have better control of when text is written, but I'm gonna leave it in for now. So now we can come into the manager object I set up. It's just to show off, and I already have here. We're gonna be updating our text with showdown. Yeah, I'm an Undertale yellow fan. So let's just run the game. It's not showing anything, so let's press Control and showdown. Right, so yes, I guess that's about it. Sorry if you were expecting things like colored text and per word wrapping, but those are a tad bit more advanced. And they already get into other things, which is full-blown dialogue boxes, which is what Fluffy Noelle, check out her channel by the way, is going to be making the next episode of her own Undertale fan game help series. So I don't want to intrude too much into that. But hey, I hope you liked the video, I hope you learned something new, and we're done for today. Leave a like if you liked it, leave a comment if you need any clarifications or if there was anything that you didn't understand, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.